Awesome. So thanks everybody. We're gonna get started in just like a minute or so, just making sure we have all our tech pieces together. Thanks for joining. We are really excited about our speaker today. For those of you that have been on campus or maybe in the med school building not too long ago, you've seen Mathieu's work. I know it was very well received by people who stopped us and told us how awesome it was. So we're happy to have him here to talk a little bit more about his work and his process. So I'll just do a very quick introduction and then I'm going to toss it over to Mathieu himself. So just a little bit about Mathieu. He was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. He is based in Houston, Texas, and he spent his early years in Haiti in St. Paul, Minnesota. He studied art and photography at École Nationale des Arts in Port-au-Prince. Excuse my French if it's not pronounced perfectly. And that's where he got his Bachelor of Arts in History. He uses paint and metal as tools to unite the world around him. He states that, and I'm quoting here, "This world is filled with confusions and misunderstandings as people struggle and strive in this beautifully complex maze of life." Mathieu's art reflects the good, the hopeful, and the interconnectedness for a better world. And I think that is the best description of his work from what we've seen. So we're going to go ahead and toss it to him. I will just mention if you have questions, please feel free to use the chat. We'll have plenty of time at the end of the talk to go through the questions. So without further ado, I'm going to direct it over to Mathieu Jeanbaptiste.
Thank you, Dr. Hansen. Thank you, Ms. Ama, for putting this together. Thank you, all staff. My name is Mathieu Jeanbaptiste. Like you said, Dr. Hansen, you said it right. That was the best French I've ever heard for a minute. So that was good. My name is Mathieu Jeanbaptiste. I was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and I speak French and Haitian Creole. So technically, like, I've been in the city of Houston for about almost 15 years now. So yeah, we're about to have a great time, and I'm looking forward to having fun with y'all. If you have questions, if you want me to stop while I'm talking, please, Dr. Hansen, you can read the questions to me. But without further ado, let's go to the slides. We can skip that. I think you already. So over here, this is the first slide. This is me when I was 2 years old. And the center part is my dad, my mom, and my brother, and my older sister. So technically, I call this slide family ties. So in Haiti, there is this strong family togetherness that, we always preach about. And I'm also fortunate to grow up with my mom and my dad, and being together, and they're still together till now, being together for 50 years. And I think they set up a model for me as a human being and as an artist, to show me, like, don't ever give up on anything, even on somebody you love. And the last slide, that's still me. And I'm holding some keys. I don't know if you can really see the keys, but that day I was crying. And that's what my dad gave me to have me stop crying. So can go to the next slide, please. So A-Arts is the school that I attended when I was in Haiti. So it is a very competitive school because that's the only art school we have in the country. And every year they only select 25 students. And I was so fortunate to be one of the students, which was like, I mean, a big milestone for me. I had said after high school, I wasn't going to any university or college because I felt like I was good enough as an artist to provide for myself. But growing up in Haiti, Haitian parents always have that tendency that, you need something on your back pocket. Like, if something that looks like a hobby doesn't work, you can always, like, go into teaching or having something that you can kind of fend for yourself. So my mom was, really clear that, you have to go to school. So out of respect for my mom, I was like, okay, I'll take the test and I'll see if I get accepted. And I took the test. I got accepted, which was like a big deal because once you get accepted, your name get mentioned all around the country. It's almost like a record label putting you on or something. So that was a big deal. That's the school that I attended. Next slide, please. So this slide's called 2010. So in 2010, January 12th, 2010, in Haiti, we had one of the biggest earthquake we ever seen. The magnitude was 7.3. And that kind of flipped the country upside down, where we had about 300,000 deaths. So the first slide is how the United Nations went to Haiti after the earthquake and helped rebuild. And that's kind of how they changed the whole structure of how that area looked. So I live probably like 2 miles away from this area from the first slide. And the centerpiece, that's the government center. The government center is pretty much like till now still not reconstructed because of politics and people want to be the one that do it. So we have four walls right now that we call the government center. The earthquake was something that really like opened my eyes to even like reflect my works and even changing my works to a whole different directions. Because before that, I was just like doing any random work that deals with beautifications, or somebody would ask me to do a piece. I would just make a piece just to say, hey, I'm an artist. But after seeing or and hearing about that many deaths we had in Haiti, when it comes to that's what the people could actually calculate, like the death toll. So it comes to a point where like I was like, I need to do something more healing, because in Haiti, mental health is not something that's really something we talked about. So I felt like after something like that, there would be a lot of people mentally that would be unstable. And me as an artist, I felt like I had to pivot my work to a different direction to kind of uplift the energy around that time. In that last slide, it's how the environment became after the earthquake. All the stuff you've seen, that's like trash that was, accumulated in about like 3 months after the earthquake, because a lot of people, since their house done broke down and stuff like that, they didn't have nowhere to discard their trash. The country was trying to figure out a sense of normalcy. And when it comes to like having a trash system, people would just like throw trash anywhere. Like anywhere in Haiti you would go to, you would see like a big pile of trash. And then when the rain comes, the rains would wash the trash to the bayous. What you're looking right now is the bayou, like what we have over here. Sometimes we would go to just like take a walk by the bayou, but in Haiti, that's what our bayous became after the earthquake. So as an artist, I was like, this is plastic. So plastic can last about like 300 to 500 years on the ground. So when you have that many plastics and on the ground, you're gonna have that you call climate change, and you're gonna start seeing like the country would be like something like, if you don't really do the cleanings and stuff like that, it would get even worse. So going to the next slide, that's the work that I was making right after I noticed what was around, how the country then became with the trash issues that we had. And we started really seeing like, our weather would change. Like, it would get very hot, or sometimes it would get like, somewhat cold in the morning, and then midday will get super hot. And me and a nonprofit that's called UUSC, we got together, and they were supporting me on creating like a whole body of work that speak on climate change, where I created like 12 pieces of work. This is 3 of them that I'm really proud of. The center one is the piece that there was an art contest on climate change in Haiti, and I won first place with that piece in the center. And the prize was to come to the United States to do a solo show, to be exact, Boston. And that's where my art career started, like, in the States, where I started to see, like, how having a story connecting to your art is more powerful than just like, do art for just beautifications. And, those pieces were like very well received by media and the public. So even till today, I don't even own one of these works. So all of them, this whole collection is in Boston right now, present. Next slide, please. So with the same thing, tapping on climate change. So these are metal sculptures. So they're like recycled material that when I was in Haiti, with the same thing I was saying earlier, like, you could be going down the street and you would see a whole bowl on the street, like, or a fork or something. So, because Haiti is not equipped in a way where uh, uh, a truck would come in front of your house to pick up your trash every Friday or something like we have in the States. So people would just like don't have nowhere to put these things. And then me as an artist, when I would see those things, I'm like, how can I take these materials and then take them back to these people's houses, but in a sense of in a shape of art. And then me and a group of artists every weekend we would go around the country or not the country per se, I'm sorry, my neighborhood, just to clean up, just picking up anything we can find. And then from there, we would create something. And these would be what we would create. And technically, like, every time I would make those pieces, people would find some type of pleasure or inspiration from them. And they would, like I said, they would buy them and put them back in their houses and stuff just to say, hey, this is a bowl. Now it's no longer a bowl anymore. It becomes like a piece of art or something. So next slide, please. So after I moved to the States, so after being um, seeing all these broken houses back home in Haiti, it's almost like my habitat was torn down, and now I'm in a new space, a new environment. I was like, how can I use my art still, even though there is not that many issues over here as we are back home, but there still be issues that need to be talked on. And I started, volunteering my time to help with whomever over here that would need help when it comes to like either cancer or any type of diseases that would kind of help, like, create a piece of art. The first slide you see, that's like a project that's called Boot Walk that they do at the MD Anderson. They would mail you a boot where you create a piece of art on it, and then they would take that boot and raffle it for to raise money for cancer patient. And then me, I always take pride in stuff like that, because not only that I'm creating work, but that work is serving a demographic that can actually use the revenue that comes from that art to, like, either get the treatment that they need, or pretty much like, or even like having some type of help sent to them. And the next slide is I was called to do a mural for Clark Road Multi-Service Center about the HIV. So technically, this terrible, like, disease is something that, some people don't really, they're not well educated about, like, the disease. They kind of like, don't know the preventions that they need to take. And they call me to actually create a piece to kind of educate people on that virus, which as you can see in the center, it's a group of people that are looking forward to the first step that we feel like, could be a sense of prevention when it comes to like this virus. So it was a pretty great project. Next slide, please. So artivism is something like, it's a word that I just like, made up. It's something like you say activist, like, in the sense of like, when I came here, because of my background from Haiti, I would get some nonprofits sometimes, or organizations that would reach out to me to do work that speaks on some issues that needs some type of like highlight. So ACLU reached out to me last year to actually create a mural. Because a lot of time, especially in the Black and Brown communities, like, we often see people don't really understand the meaning of when they vote, how powerful that can be to the decisions that needs to be made in their community, how they can be a voice for their community without sitting and waiting for somebody else to take charge of what you eat, what take place in your community. They said if I can do a mural that speak about how do we choose our future, and because we were pretty much accentuated into Black and Brown communities, so we had to go around Third Ward and talk to people and see what they wanted to see. Like, how can we do a mural that they can live with? This mural is located between Emancipation Park and Berry Street. So it was done last year, pretty much. So if you guys want to see it, so please stop by 204 Berry Street to see it. So the center slide, that's at the opening. There were a lot of people that came out to kind of celebrate the mural and meet me as the artist. And then there was a little portion of the mural where we did community engagement, where I wanted the community to participate in the mural so they can kind of have the same sense of ownership that I have, because living with a mural in your community, you want to make sure you connect to it. So, and me as an artist, that was my way to make sure, like, the community was connected to it by doing community engagement and have them come out and paint with me. So the last slide, you can kind of, if you live here for the past 2 or 3 years, we have only one Ben and Jerry in Houston. Ben and Jerry's is like, where sometimes I go to enjoy my ice cream. After the passing of George Floyd, the whole country was going through chaos, with rallies would be all over certain states, and certain people would trying to do some type of event that speak on social justice. And Ben and Jerry has been really great organizations when it comes to, like, using their voice, not only selling ice cream, but using their platform to bring awareness on what's going on around the country when it comes to, like, not only police brutality, but any sense of racism or any sense of discrimination. And they had called a friend of mine to actually, like, create a mural, and I was part of the group that created the mural, which is something I'm really proud of when it comes to, like, doing work that's not just gonna sit at somebody's office or house. Every time you drive by this Ben and Jerry, you get to see this mural, and it speaks about, like, what took place during that time. And you can kind of see all these kids. They're like, they look like protesters, and they have, like, little cards in their hands that says "All flavors are created equal," which is a quote that I found that was very interesting. And me as an artist, I felt like, I had to really pay my dues during that time through that mural. So during COVID, I was in a very interesting place where I was still trying to find my ways, because as a full-time artist, anything can make you go back to the workforce if you don't have control over it. And COVID, I did not have any control over COVID. Where I saw COVID was real when me and my wife went to New York, and then we saw the street of New York was like dead empty. And my wife was like, that was a bad idea to come over here with nobody on the street and stuff. So when I came back, I got a call from the women's hospital. The first slide is a mural. When you enter the lobby at the cafeteria, is a mural that, when they approached me, they said, we have a bunch of nurses that are on the front lines, doctors, and we want to have them honored in a way where, like, they can feel like not important per se, but they can feel, like, acknowledged for their hard work that they've been doing. Because as frontliners, so you get to get in contact with the deadliest disease that we all know, that virus that we all know that wiped a big chunk of our population. So they wanted me to create a mural that speaks on the children, acknowledging the nurses and doctors, and at the same time use elements that can bring energy of power and strength. And that's why you can kind of see the flower kind of overpowering. That's the lilies. So lilies are represented like, as a sense of strength, power, and positive energy. So they like the murals, and the murals so bad where they call me back to actually do another one. But to highlight this part, so you can kind of see there is a black face kind of rising at the end of the mural. So they had one of their nurse that passed away, which I'm still don't know if it's from the virus, but when they mentioned it to me, they said we have to do something to acknowledge her and her effort before her passing, and but do something where it doesn't really reflect her face, because we're trying to be very protective of using faces that people can recognize. And me, I use that face in the back as a sense of that's her spirit rising um, to a better place, finding her peace and happiness. Um, the next slide, that's another project I did with them, where they had just opened an adoption department at their hospital, and they wanted a painting that speaks on that, where if you ever think about adopting a baby, so what does that look like? What is the key of understanding when who you need to work with? Do you just take the child and then you know the parents? So do you just like take the child and then you and the parents help with the child? So they wanted to see something like that in the mural. That's what you can see in this slide. The blue, you see the blue lady pregnant. Sometimes since pregnancy, some parents already give the child to adoption. So I kind of married those two elements together to show like sometimes a decision's already been made since the seed get planted into the woman's body, because sometimes somebody can be on drug or not responsible or don't have the resources to raise a child, but the woman hospital provided some type of outlets to help these parents and these kids. So I was so fortunate to be the artist to be received that commission, and that's how this work came about. Next slide, please. So a friend of mine was called for a big project that was bigger than him pretty much. So it was to create like 7 to 8 murals. The zoo called him like to create something about like the zoo just turned 100 at that time. They wanted something that speak about their centennial, and then the guy was like, I can't just do all these murals by myself. I would want to commission some artists to kind of come in and create something. And I was one of the artists that he picked. My friend that everybody probably know, Gunzo 247. And this is my mural that I came up with. So my subject was like to speak about the wetlands, and technically like you can kind of see in this mural is different species um, that create this beautiful that can be in this beautiful jungle sometimes that that can be scary for humans, but for them like it's like that's their habitat. So if you don't bother them, so you won't get in trouble. So that's the mural that I came up with, and the one next to it, if you've been traveling lately, flying from Hobby Airport, you probably been seeing these big giant balls at these giant soccer balls at the baggage claim at Hobby Airport. So I was one of the artists that they picked to actually paint one of those balls. So the idea was like to create something to help promote FIFA 2026. That will be from Mexico, Canada, and United States. And Houston is one of the host city, and the city of Houston being pretty much like helping promote these big events that will bring a lot of revenues to the city of Houston, and a lot of businesses. So every time FIFA brings something to any country, that country usually thrive for the next 10 years. And I'm so happy that, the US get to do the World Cup in 2026. And having Houston being one of the host city, even me as an artist, you never know what that might look like for me. So as far as like opportunity or in showcasing my work and even going to one of the games too to enjoy, not just like getting the opportunities because it'll be a fun year when the World Cup come here. So I'm looking forward to it. So you can go to the next slide, please. So community engagement is something that I'm really passionate about because, like I was saying earlier, a lot of time as an artist, I could be in my selfish ways and then come to any community and do some work and then go home because I'm like, I don't live here. I'm gonna put anything in this community and then they can deal with it. But me as an artist, I'm like, it's not about me. It's about the community as a whole. A lot of time, when I would get a project, before I would do it, I would sit with the super neighborhoods and stuff to ask them what do they want to see, what is going on in the community where if you if we document that that can bring change or that can bring the change that you want to see faster. And sometimes it could be crime. Sometimes it could be the community not having that sense of working together. And then me as an artist, that's when I tap in and I say, hey, I'm going to do this mural where I want to paint the community's vision while I have the leaders from the communities to come out and paint with me and do this some type of event where people can kind of use that as an example of how humans should work together. Because often we know people like to be me, 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 me. It's all about me. But I'm like, if we all leave that pride behind and then work together, a lot can be done. So, and I was exposed to that at a very early age when I was in Haiti after the earthquake. I saw how a lot of countries came to Haiti and helped Haiti get back up. So that's kind of stuck with me, even through my work, to always allowing people to be a part of that, and then even inspiring me with their stories. So the center slide, that's a mental health workshop I did with ACLU Texas, where somebody came and speak about like the mental health and stuff like that. And then me as an artist, I came behind that person with my art, where we literally like didn't know what we were gonna create, but there were some issues that were given to us that we had to focus the art on. And then we made 6 pieces where we had 6 groups of 7 people per, and then where it was a big collaboration between me and them, where I'll do a portion of the mural of the canvas, and then the whole rest of the group would do something. So that's one of the participant that he was doing his portion after I did mine, and it was a great event. It was a great event, and it was great to hear how people were sharing that how they never been into an art class before, but the way that they were like letting go certain feelings and emotions by doing brushstrokes and releasing and even talking to me as an artist about like the visions that they convey on the canvas. It made them feel like they had released something that without that project you would never been released or anything. So the last slide is from ACLU, that ACLU opening that I was talking about earlier. These are the kids, like, we had a kids section where often, I like to get ideas from kids because kids will give you the best inspiration without having to water it down for you. And so this child came to me and he told me like, this is what voting looks like for me. And what in that drawing that he did is pretty much like 2 kids in line voting when you already know kids can't vote, but that was him like acknowledge that we want our voice to be heard too. So it's not just like we don't want to fall into that. You have to be 18 to be voting, but if you bring me on the table too, I can bring some change. And it was interesting to hear, like, what he had to say about his drawing, and I felt very connected with that story. So that was us at that time speaking. So you can go to the next slide, please. So, like Dr. Anson was saying earlier, so I was the artist. I think it was that a couple months ago. I had my pieces at the MSB hallway building. So technically, my work was there for like a month per se. So it was a body of work that I made a year ago, where being Haitian, like I was saying earlier, so mental health is something that it's very little of the population that understand um, what mental health means. So a lot of people back home, when you bring up that word, they think like using that as an umbrella to not being productive or not being held accountable. So me as an artist, when I moved here, I I saw the lack of mental health understanding throughout some communities, not only here in Houston but around the country, where some people, they still don't understand. Like, sometimes you get to that point where you need somebody to listen to what you got to say. You need somebody to listen to your issues. Not everything is perfect. Sometimes you need um, that booster to get you faster to where you're trying to travel in life. So I made a whole series of work to talk about that mental health, in the diaspora, and then mental health in some underserved communities here in the United States. So the first show the first time I showed this body of work was at the African American Museum. So when they invited me to show my work a couple years ago, I was like, that's the subject right here. So that's me, the center slide, that's me in the studio making the pieces and stuff. So the way I work can be very messy. So and the good thing about this body of work is because none of those pieces were pre-sketched or using photograph or something. They were straight coming from my mind and my feelings, my emotions, my understanding, my stories that I encountered when I was back home, and stories that I discussed to people, being here in Houston about mental health. So the last slide, those are the work at the African American Museum. And then I'm going back to the first slide. I'm holding a baby. This is my newborn baby, Marissa. And then I often bring her around when I have art shows to start having her artistically inclined with my practice. Because I always remember first time I bring her to my studio, she was pretty much like, didn't want to be in here. Like, she was crying because that was the first time she ever been to a space with this magnitude, inspiration, and energy being thrown around. So now she's pretty much okay now. I can call her a little artist. So yeah, you can go to the next slide, please. So my work sometimes gets to this historical point where a lot of time I get people reach out to me to help them, like, document stories. That what get really interesting is because some of these stories are stories that were created before I was even born. And then being an artist that get to help them document this story, sometimes I give myself a pat in the back because I'm like, man, this is bigger than me. So and having to create something where somebody can really recap that moment or feel like they living that in that moment. So it can get pretty fascinating. So this mural is at Antioch Missionary Baptist Church downtown, which is the first African American church in the city of Houston. And I was called by the Freemanstown Conservancy last year to help them document, you know, the Jackie stories and Freemanstown in general, like, you know, the history that took place even before gentrification. So this is a mural we were able to come with by having a bunch of meetings, because you're dealing with sacred space, and a lot of time with sacred spaces, you have to be very intentional to what you bring around, because you don't want to be the one to stop the story from being told. And when I was called as the artist, because having a strong Haitian history as a background already, I had a sense of knowing um, how the outcome should look, where I was kind of comfortable to bring the stories, but I was blown away to be the artist to receive the commission. So this mural is at the lobby. So if you ever go to any art church on Sundays, so please check on this mural. And we had a great turnout. The next slide next to it is at the unveiling. So we have the guy who's holding the folder. That's the pastor, Pastor Lou. He was really great to work with. So the mural speak pretty much starting from slavery to the modern day of today. And as you can see on the center, there is a facility. This is the first Negro high school they had in Freemanstown at that time, Carnegie High, and then they wanted to reflect that on there. And it was interesting. There was some churchgoers that was there at the unveiling who attended that school, and it was a great way to see how people could connect. And some people they were even in tears to see how this mural kind of brings some type of memories and childhood memories, and even for people who grew up in Freemanstown. So they felt like, that was the best justice that could be done to telling that story, because a lot of people sometimes get that story watered down. So Lift Every Voice, as you can see, that's like the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice. So they wanted to see that reflect on the mural, because at Carnegie High School in Freemanstown back in the days, um, they used to celebrate with that kind of every day, with the national anthem. So you can go to the next slide if you can, please. So District J is under Edward Pollard. Edward Pollard is the councilman for District J. So I've been working a lot closely with him for the past 2 years, and sometimes I have a lot of visions in my head for community work, and then him as a councilman who's dealing with an area that has a lot of violence and a lot of anything like drug related and rapes and everything. So he has all those statistics under his district. And there was that day, we met up, and then we were like, we have to do something in the community where every walls where the gangs would take the gang group names and stuff, let's just go over and paint something very productive. But they have this concept that's called Gulfton Pride, where they, as a community, you want that sense of pride where kids don't have to live in fear. Like, young adult, like, especially young women, at night, you should not be a target for what you look like, what you dress as, what you smell like, what you feel like. So you should be free to just like walk on your path and be all you, and not having to have to look behind for your safety. And that was something that they were dealing a lot for the last 5 years. And when we talked about it, bringing public art in the community was a sense to change that narrative. And one thing we find out, like, every time you do a mural somewhere, it's rarely you're gonna get any gang member to come to take their gang name on that mural. art is something that even the uneducated people who have no knowledge about art, they respect that when they see it. They know the hard work. They know the inspiration, the 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 message we're trying to convey sometimes. So we started with the basketball court. The first slide, that's a basketball court that they had. It's a county park, but the court is still under the county still, and we had to work with the county and Edward Pollard to actually bring a sense of beautification, because all these pillars you seeing with the bright colors, each of them would have a gang name on there, like spray painted, and people would just come on the court and then fight, do all type of activities and stuff like that. So that's the work that I was able to create to change that narrative, that energy around the park and the court. So now the centerpiece, the bottom picture, you can kind of see how the youth now, when they come out, they don't have to worry about reading the next rivalry gang names. They can just play their basketball in peace and talk to their friends without having any type of tension or tantrum coming from what's written on those pillars. So the first picture above the kids playing, so that's what the centerpiece says, Gulfton Pride. So we often want them to always remember there is a sense of pride that needs to stay in Gulfton without feeling like they need to go or leave the community to go elsewhere. So that's a mural we did a few months ago, where across that mural, it's a street where if you go, you would always see activities like drug dealers selling drugs and people like prostitutions going on and stuff like that. That wall was blank, and then it was a really great hideaways for those people to do this type of activities. And then at night, it gets pretty scary. So we were like, how can we bring something that will kind of uplift that street and then kind of lower the rate of drug and prostitution that's going on in Gulfton. So that's something we were able to come up with. So it's a huge mural by the size of 24 by 102 feet. And I was able to graze them by bringing the sense of pride that they have in Gulfton, at the same time bringing the Hispanic culture they have in Gulfton, which is very big, and then the African culture they have out there as well. You can go to the next slide, please. So Air Residency is a new residency that just opened at the Houston airports, where I was the first artist. I was so fortunate to be the first artist to start the residency program, which was very fun. And at the same time, there was a sense of nervousness being involved when I was out there, because it's one of a kind type of residency that I've ever done before, live in public every day, engaging with passengers. And the idea was the airport has been dealing with people with anger management, because sometimes they get people who miss the flights, and then they would make a scene at the airport, and because there would be nothing to do, you just sit there and wait for the next flight. And the curator of the airport wanted something that can distract those people or make those people have something while they're killing the time to entertain. So me as an artist, I was the first artist to start the whole program, where it become now one of the only airport in the whole airport system with an art residency, that when people are traveling, they get to sit with the artists, they get to talk and see the progress. Sometimes, even though you're not there, there are plenty of information at your booth that they can grab and take pictures of your work and tag you on social media and telling you how the work kind of, something that making them having the best flight experience ever. So the center slide, that's me live painting. So that's what my everyday would look like when I was at the residency, where you got securities going around, you got passengers flying, and you have me as an artist painting, people coming and asking me questions and stuff like that. That piece from the last slide, that's the piece that one of the pieces that I made from that program, which is now hanging at the airport in Terminal D if you fly into Hobby Airport. So if you see this piece, so that's one of the pieces from that program. Um, and it's just interesting to see how everything in society now needs art, like because art is something that we're not only beautifying, but we're telling stories, we're changing emotions, we're changing mood, we're changing the way people perceive, like what I mean, certain things. Because these days, like people are quick to go into violence when something is not working their way. But it's interesting to see how art can move, can shift all that energy into a conversation, a dialogue. Let's just see. Let's just talk about it. Oh, here comes this artist over there painting. Let me go talk to him. So it's interesting what art can do, and I'm so blessed and fortunate to be put in this position where I can just like change anybody's mood or mess up somebody's mood, because there could be somebody that they may like art, but they don't like my style of art, but that's still fine too. But at least, overall, there is something that I can use as an outlet to help society be a better place. You can go to the next slide, please. So I have my solo show coming up November 18th. So if you watching this right now, you are invited. Um, the key thing is making sure like people get to come and just see what I've been working on, because I I've been I usually make this joke with my wife, like I've been a studio slave for the past 6 months, because every time you come here at the studio, I'm in here. So I spend most of my time here because this body of work that I'm working on is very personal, partially, because since I've been here almost 15 years now, it's been a big disconnection of me as an artist to what's going on back home, and even the border crisis we had in Del Rio with all the Haitian migrants that were trying to enter the United States, and some of them were getting turned away, or we even had pictures of them circulating on social media where um, the law, they were on horses whipping them Haitians and stuff like that, turning them away, scaring them with horses. So me as an artist, that kind of hit me to the core, where I was like, it's about time I do something about um, these issues, and then how sometimes how the system can work very biased when it comes to certain countries. Because as an artist, I feel like we all should be having the same opportunity, or the same receptions when it comes to like just getting help. Like I don't want a group of people to be getting help because of their history, what they've done in the past, or how whoever giving them the help see how they can get that back. Like and Haiti has been very um talked on when it comes to immigrations, because um often Haitians want to migrate here, and then people here sometimes don't understand why. We're having a lot of, most of the Caribbean nations are coming over here. And me as an artist, I'm like, if you look at the politics of our countries, we don't get to decide how we run our country. We don't get to decide how to do certain things. And often even like, the resources to have a proper education, or make money to take care of your family, you don't have that luxury. And often people they want the best for their families. Of course, they will move here because they know it's a lot of jobs here, it's a lot of opportunity, and sometimes you may have the best skills in Haiti. Even myself, as an example, the way I'm moving with my artwork now, I always ask myself, how would it have been if I was in Haiti? I'm sure it would probably be great, but certain opportunities I'm fortunate to be presented against, I don't think I would have had the same opportunity as I'm having today with my work, because my work would probably stay in only one category, would never be expanded or something. This body of work, I think, speak on those issues, the border crisis, and it speaks on, how the diaspora get looked on. Sometimes, us when we move here to the United States after certain years, especially when we become a citizen. So we get called diaspora, and sometimes we get back home. People back home sometimes see us as um, almost like you got baptized with the holy water. So now you gotta we gotta be careful on how we talk to you, because it's almost like you get brainwashed, like, per se. And all that is discussed in this series of work that I can't wait to share with the public. And it's personal because I'm Haitian, but it's something that's open vastly to most of the Caribbean nations. Everybody will take their sense of understanding from it, from either where they're from, what they look like, and their experiences. So I look forward to seeing you if you can make it on the 18th. But if you can't make it, please, you can always reach out to me. I will gladly, give you a tour of the show, and then get to give you the analogy behind every single piece. Next slide, please. So if you want to contact me, for either work or to get a studio tour, or if there is anything from this slide you think I didn't really like talk on a lot because of timing and stuff, please, you can always reach out to me by email. The second one is my Instagram. I'm always on there, posting my everyday life in the studio. Sometimes if I'm working on a piece, I'll take a picture of it and post it on my stories, or I'll be out with my family or my daughter. I'll just post us on there, just like, being goofy. Um, so yeah, I hope I do justice to time. I don't know how we're doing on time.
Oh,
So
you're good.
okay, so if you have any questions, so I think I'm open to take any questions. But if you don't have any questions, so you have some questions later, I'm sure that you can always email me, and I'll gladly give you any answers that I feel like are appropriate to your questions. So thank you. This is my presentation.
Yeah. Thank you, Mathieu. That was impressive. First off, thank you for being so vulnerable. It's so interesting to me hearing from artists repeatedly, like the level of vulnerability you have to share is just, I think, something in medicine that can be very difficult. But we have a lot of creative people, writers, artists that are actually on watching you now. So I'm curious if you have any advice on tapping into that vulnerability, because it sounds like that was a big catalyst for you with the climate piece. Like that felt like the first, what you described as your first very vulnerable kind of foray into that space. So what thoughts or suggestions do you have?
I would always say, like, with any artist, like, when it comes to, like, because I see the work that I'm doing now, it's not just art, it's just like it become a sense of like storytelling and documenting. And sometimes, I would always tell artists, like, it's not about you. So your art can be greater than just like painting a butterfly or painting a flower. So, but how is that flower gonna reflect 10 years from now with what was going on during your time? Or how can that flower become a sense of medicine to maybe a disease that was thriving in the moment? Like, can that flower be something that we can have a dialogue around? So, knowing that, it's not about you, it's about a whole tribe. I think helps a lot, because often that me concept needs to be we,
Mm.
or let's use more community words versus personal words. Like I get personal mostly when I'm with family and stuff like that. But when it comes to like what I do daily, so I often see like um, everything included: school, church, um, you know, sports, anything that has to do with making your community stronger. I always like to tap into that. I'm not saying that it will work for everybody, but it has not been, uh, you know, deceive me to a point where like I have to pivot my work to something else. So my work always evolve with what's going on around me. So only if I pay attention, I will understand how to move with my work. So I would advise any artist to not do the same thing, but find a voice in your community. Find something that can help you flush those stories faster. Find that demographic that you feel like don't have a voice and they can use you as a voice. Like you don't have to go on the street and protest, but you can through your work you can protest through your work without having to physically do it. And then where the physical part of it will see your work as something to hide behind when they have to take on the street or something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, well, I want to be incredibly respectful of your time and everyone else's time since we're almost at the hour. I want to thank you on behalf of all of us at the McGovern Center. This was really wonderful. Your work has such a scope, just like seeing from the portraits to the historical aspect to the more abstract piece. So thank you for sharing all of that with us. And shout out to Miss Walter for like connecting the dots so we could make this happen. So appreciate y'all. And if you
So
have any more questions or thoughts for Matthew, he shared his information. We'll be sure to pass that along too.
perfect. So my wife is a strong. I always call her my first cheerleader. So I always felt like I wasn't ready when she would come home and show me these talks, and I'm like, oh, this is great. I want you to be one of the artists. I can talk to
Yeah.
Dr. Henson. I'm like, I just think I'm not ready. Like we've been talking about this for forever, and I just decided one day, like, yeah, I think I have stories I can tell. I mean, you an artist as well, Dr. Henson. Sometimes even though you have the work, but sometimes physically or emotionally you don't feel like you're ready to be in dialogue about the work because you're still processing. Not because the work is created you think the story is there. Sometimes you have to really sit with yourself to make the story or to understand even what you create, what makes you create the piece that you just give birth to. So but I always give my wife props for always connecting me with the best people sometimes, to just open my work to a different group of people, because often I would never imagine me today speaking on any topics, in a hospital settings, like even though I've done work with the women hospital, but the way we having a dialogue right now, I did not do that with the work that I did with them. So having that now, it makes me feel like um the future is bright. So
Yeah. Well, thanks to you. I mean, this is just a great outlet for all of us to get some time to really take a step back and kind of recognize what's happening around us, but also examine the things that are happening around us. So just want to thank you again. Want to thank everyone for attending. Don't miss his show at the Young Center. We'll be there. So there is a link in the chat to give you more information about the Young Center and the exhibit. So thanks, Mathieu. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.
all right, thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye.